Hi, I'm Alicia Allen, and I'm with the Hope of Ruth Ministries Church. And I'm getting on here tonight to share a little bit about what the Lord's been speaking to me lately and just some things He's been working on my heart. If I had to trace it all back to where it started, it would have to be an intimate conversation that I had with the Lord about something that I was struggling with. And just asking Him why, why couldn't I overcome this? Why was I still struggling with it? And was I not surrendering? Or was I not doing something right? And of course, He didn't answer me right away. So I just kind of took it and put it on the back burner. And fast forward to last weekend when we're celebrating Easter, and my kids and I were talking about, everything that Jesus had done on the cross for us. And we started talking about knowing the Lord and what it means, to know the Lord. And something that I've always taught my kids is that there's a difference between knowing of the Lord and knowing the Lord. And so I started thinking on that. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? And the Lord dropped an example that I could share with my kids, because I have younger ones and I have older ones. And it was an example to help them understand the difference. And it's neighbors. We know our neighbors. They can be our acquaintances. And there's a difference between that and our family, who we do life with. Even though we know our family and we know our neighbors, there's a difference there. And so I started thinking of it, and I was like, okay, doing life together, what does that mean? And as I thought on it, it's like this deeper revelation came of understanding what it is to know God and do life with Him. And so I started thinking, like, when I think of doing life with someone, I think of my husband or my kids. They know the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm vulnerable with them, and we spend almost every waking moment together. We go through trials and storms together. We celebrate and have joy together as well. So it's this intimate time together. And it's the same with our relationship with the Lord, if you think about it. When I think of doing life with Jesus, I think of worship and praising Him and seeking Him in His Word and digging in and living from a grateful heart, and coming into His presence and just spending that personal time with Him and walking through some of the hardest storms in our lives and knowing that we're not alone. That's what I think of when I think of doing life together. But to do life together, it takes this sense of surrender. It's surrendering of your time. It's surrendering of your affection and your emotions. It's a surrender of your will. And the same goes with, my family. I have to surrender sometimes what I want to what they want. And the same is true with the Lord. And as we come into this doing life with Him in this act of surrender, and you look at that in a biblical sense, it's abiding. It's abiding in Him. And when you abide in something, you connect. And there's this connection. And when there's the connection, there's this flow back and forth of receiving and giving. And an example of that I heard was like a garden hose or a water hose. And a hose's duty is to pour out water. But for a hose to pour out water, it has to be connected to the source. And the same is true for us. We have to be connected to the source to do what we've been called to do, to do the things that sometimes we can't do on our own. And Jesus gives a much better example in John 15 of that. And it says, "Abide in me, and I in you. And as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, and you are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing." So in a sense, he's our power source. He is what we have to connect to receive that power. And Jesus, throughout the scriptures, talks about how he's given us the power and the authority. In Luke 10, he talks about he's given us the authority and the power to overcome. And then in 2 Peter 1:3, he says that by his divine power, he has given us everything that we need to live a godly life. And a much more common verse in 2 Timothy 1:7, he said that he has given us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. So he is the power source. And just like that hose has to be connected to that water source to pour out, the same is true for us. We have to stay connected and abide in him to do exactly what we were designed to do. And if I trace that back all the way to my conversation with the Lord, of how do I overcome, I have to ask myself, am I abiding? Am I connected to the power source? Am I doing life with him? Thanks for listening. And I hope that you'll go and like our page at Hope of Ruth Ministries Church and follow us and tune in for the next live video. Thanks for listening, and God bless.